Was it self-defense or murder? Mother of four, Quaneesha Johnson, claims that self-defense is the reason that she shot her boyfriend, Demonte Smith, to death last November following a domestic dispute. Police responded to her 911 calls, but the shooting happened after they left her house. Joining us now, Court TV legal correspondent Julia Jenny outside the courthouse in Decatur, Georgia. Boy, entertaining and interesting first day. Both sides did much different stories here. The case seems to hang on this body camera video, and of course, at the end of the day, it's going to hang on the defendant, who we expect to take the stand. But let's talk about what we've seen so far, what the jury's seen so far. What's your take? What did you see from those jurors as they watched that body camera video?
Ted, this jury is engrossed. They are leaning in, trying so hard to hear some of those hard-to-hear moments on the body camera. You can hear some of what these parties are saying during that body camera being played, but there are moments when the sound kind of drops. You can't really hear what's being said. And there was even a moment where the prosecution had to play one part over again, but it's a key part. It's when the defendant, Quaneesha Johnson, tells police, if I were to shoot him in self-defense, then what? If I have to defend myself, if I have a license to carry and I have a weapon, what happens then? And the officer says, you'll just need to be able to articulate your position. This is as they are walking away. I looked over at those jurors. They look a bit incredulous that this is how the investigation of this domestic dispute unfolded. There was even a moment where one woman, she seemed to have her brow really furrowed and really concerned when the officers, or what the prosecution characterized what the officers did, saying that they told these two to go inside the home to cool off, that was their solution to this situation. So I'm feeling a bit of concern about how this was handled from these jurors, but overall they are taking in the state and defense opening statements. Take a listen to how those two sides described what happened that day.
Quaneesha Johnson pleaded for protection, cried for help, and she was left defenseless by police officers who knew better. She was left defenseless against a serial abuser by police officers who knew better.
Demonte's holding his infant child, and she fearlessly approaches Demonte and tries to grab the kid. And then, not only that, the entire time, y'all get to hear she says things like, that's not even your baby. That's not even your kid. You're not even on the birth certificate. I'm gonna disappear again for 3 hours. What are you gonna do then? This is all in front of the police.
Now, speaking of things that we can't hear very well, Ted, those moments of the gunshot and her saying dead in that 911 call, really hard for these jurors to make out inside of that courtroom.
The first witness out of the gate was this ex-girlfriend. What did she, at the end of the day, bring to the case?
Oh, she was a major witness, not only for the prosecution, but also for the defense. First of all, for the state, she was able to testify that Demonte Smith was planning to come over to her house that night to get away from this situation, that he wanted an Uber ride, and that she ordered an Uber ride for them. So the state was able to put that receipt into evidence. But while she was speaking, the defense was able to use something that she said to get in, something that they wanted. But take a listen to that moment.
A great person. He always laughing, caring, very oriented, always laughing, joking. He was just a great person.
Did he have a nickname he went by?
Dolo.
So that good character evidence from the state witness, the defense said, opened the door. Michael Sterling argued successfully that he should be able to bring in some of the other character evidence, the bad character evidence about this victim. He was able to question this witness about all of the convictions in his past, which included some violence in terms of the type of charges, those in terms of children as well, violence towards children. So big moment for the defense, and that was with the very first witness on the stand by the prosecution.
Yeah, things did not get off to a roaring start by the state of Georgia in this one. Julia Jade, we'll let you get into the courtroom, get your seat, because we are anticipating anticipating that the lunch break will be ending any moment, and we'll get everybody into the courtroom. Julia, thank you. She'll be with us throughout the day. Here to talk more about it, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Michael J. Brown. He's in New York. And in studio here, former prosecutor as well, and criminal defense attorney Mazi Mazloum. Mazi, to you first on this. Let's pick it up where Julia left off. The big moment when that door opens up and you can get in front of this jury that the decedent has a criminal record, including violence towards children.
That's right. In Georgia, typically, you're not allowed to talk about the victim much until that door is open. Here, the prosecution made, I think, the mistake of asking about that. And with her statements, I agree, door's wide open.
First, they asked for a mistrial. That was denied, but probably knowing they weren't going to get the mistrial, they're pleased as can be that the door was open. Michael, overall, what's your take of this case? There's some bizarre things that the defendant did do, but at the end of the day, self-defense is all about feeling as though your life is in jeopardy or great bodily harm. And there's no body camera of that moment when they're back together in the home, which, police instructed them, you guys go back into your cage match and see what happens.
Well, yeah, and that's the difficult thing from the prosecution standpoint is the voice of the victim is not here. Because you're left with just the defendant who survives. But the defense attorney is doing a nice job in the sense of portraying you want to call him the victim, as horribly as he can in terms of his criminal record and the fact that he made these threats and the threats he made as she was going back in. At the same time, portraying his client as doing everything she could possibly do under the law to really survive. And it's either be or be killed in this type of situation. He's doing a nice job.
Yeah, and we'll see it play out here, and of course it's going to crescendo with the defense case when we do expect, in most self-defense cases, the defendant to take the stand, and that'll be make or break.